Still Walking, the film we've just watched tonight, is over 10 years old now. Do you often revisit your films? And when you do, what do you find when you revisit them?
いやあんまり、見直すことはまずないので、こう見るとやっぱりなんだろうな、あそこもう少しこうしときゃよかったなっていう直したくなる気持ちがまず一つあるので、あんまり見ないですよね。ちょっと恥ずかしいっていうのもありますけど、昔さっき幻の光の予告をちょっと始まる前にちょっとだけ見たんですけども、なんだかその自分の昔のアルバムを開いた時になんで俺こんな髪型してんだろうなとかなんでこんな柄のセーター誰が買ったんだろうみたいなこう驚くことが皆さんもおありだと思いますけども、そんな感じですね。すぐだからアルバムは閉じたくなりますね。
I don't often revisit my films, and when I do watch them, I just feel like I want to change things. I should have done it like this, and it's a bit embarrassing. It's like you saw the trailer for Maboroshi before this film, and it's like opening an old photo album and thinking, what was I thinking with that haircut? Or who on earth bought that jumper for me? And it's quite a shock. I'm sure you've all had that experience, and you just want to shut the album straight away.
ステルウォーキングに関して言うとややちょっと違う気持ちもあって、冒頭出てくる、ここに映ってるおばあちゃん役のキリンさんとおじいちゃん役の原田芳雄さんがもう亡くなっているので、ちょっとこうまだその2人がいないということをこう自分の中でまだ消化しきれてないところもあるもんですから、そういう意味も加わってこの作品はちょっとまだ見る勇気がないっていうのが正直なところです。
It's a little bit different with Still Walking because Kiki Kirin, who plays the grandmother, and Harada Yoshio, who plays the grandfather, have both passed away. And I haven't quite processed that within myself yet. And so, to be honest, I haven't got up the courage to watch it again yet.
Right. Well, you mentioned Kirin Kiki. This was the first film you made with her, and she became such a consistent presence in your films afterwards, all the way to Shoplifters last year. What was it about that first collaboration that made you think this would go on for many more years?
どうして続いたんだろう。なんだか分かんないんですけど、馬があった。日本語で言うと馬があったんですね。年齢20歳違うんですけども、なんかなんでしょうね。僕はちょうど母親を亡くした後にこの作品をこの脚本を書いて、すごく母親のイメージを重ねながらキリンさん撮らせてもらって、キリンさんは多分ずっと一緒に組んでいた、かつて一緒に組んでいた非常にこう信頼している演出家を亡くされて、その後でお互いに多分なんかちょっとその自分が亡くした人を重ねながらこう共同作業をこの作品をスタートにして始めた感じがあったんじゃないかなっていう、そんな気が今振り返るとします。
It's very hard to say what it was. I mean, there was 20 years between us in age. When I wrote the script for Still Walking, I'd just lost my mother. And I think maybe I was partially juxtaposing Kirin-san with my mother, and she had just lost a trusted director who she worked with a lot. So I think we'd both lost someone important to us right at the start of our working relationship together. Maybe that's part of it.
That's a beautiful way to put it, and you made great work together. Whenever a new project came to mind after Still Walking, would you find yourself writing characters with her in mind, or would that just be a happy coincidence that there was a role for her?
思い浮かんで書いてたんですか、それともたまたま出来上がったらキリンさんの役があったと。
この作品の後ですか、
うん
なんか今話したら美しい話っぽいんだけど、そんなこともなくて、この後はちょくちょくキリンさんがこう事務所に遊びに来て「あなたあの映画見た、ひどかったわね」っつって、映画の悪口を2時間喋って帰るとか、大体会ってる時に話してる話って誰それの整形がうまくいかなかったとか、誰それが別れて慰謝料いくら払ったとか、そういうこうお金の話と不動産の話、噂話で、なんかこう嫌いなものが似ていたので、なんかこう悪口をで、キリンさんの場合はそれがすごくある種の演技論だったり映画論だったりするもんですから、僕は聞くのが楽しかったので、よくそういうこう悪口を聞きながらご飯食べたりっていう時間がとても楽しくて、そんなに美しくもないんです。人の悪口が楽しいってそんなに美しい話じゃないんですけど、なんかでもそういうところもきっと僕にとっては母親の代わりだったんだと思います。
その2時間文句言ったのがスティーブ・ウォーキングの違う映画の監督の違う映画のと。
違う監督の違う作品の悪口を
You say that's beautiful. It's not really. She would come and see me and say, "Oh, did you see so and so's new film? Isn't it awful?" And she'd spend 2 hours complaining about someone else's film. She likes talking about who's got divorced, how much they're paying, whose plastic surgery has gone terribly wrong, real estate, money, rumours. And then it turned into talking about her theory of acting and her theory of film. And it was always really good fun talking with her and sharing a meal with her. So we basically spent a lot of time bad-mouthing other people, so it wasn't really beautiful.
この作品以降は基本的に言うともう彼女を当て書きして僕はいろんな役を書いていて、で6本の映画の作品を一緒にやったんですけど、それ以外にも実はいくつかオファーをしてはいるんですね。ただその度に断られてる、全部を受けてくれるわけじゃなくて、この役は私じゃない方がいいって、私の代わりにこういう人のがいいんじゃないかっていうふうに別の名前を出されることもしばしばあって、そういう関係がずっとなくなるまで10年続いたっていう感じですね。
But she was, I guess, in that sense, a kind of replacement mother figure. And I did start writing for her after that, and we made 6 films together. There were others that I took to her, that I offered her, but she turned me down. She didn't accept everything, and she would quite often suggest somebody else for the role that would be better suited to it than she was. And that carried on for 10 years until she passed away.
このスティルウォーキングの時も最初にオファーをしてお会いして、最初に言われたのは、この役私が断ったら誰に頼むつもりなのって言われて、いやもうキリンさんしか考えてませんって言ったら、いやそんなはずはないって言われて私がダメだった第2候補と第3候補の名前を教えなさいって言われて、しぶしぶ名前を出したら、その人がやるんだったら私の方がいいって言って、この映画は引き受けてくれた。
The first time I offered her the role in Still Walking and I went to meet her, she said, "If I turn down this role, who are you going to give it to?" And I said, "Well, I've only got you in mind for this role." And she said, "Not likely. Tell me who's number 2 and who's number 3." So I came up with the names for her, and she said, "Oh, if you're going to ask them, you're better off asking me."
さっき馬があったと言いましたけども、非常に厳しい方なので、僕が例えばおそらくいい加減なオファーの仕方をしたり、現場でいい加減な演出をしたら、多分もうこの監督はダメだなって言ってすぐバッサリ切られて、でよそに行って多分僕の悪口を2時間しゃべるだと思うんですけど、だから僕は彼女にオファーをする時には本当に一生懸命というか必死で彼女と向き合おうとしましたし、 現場で悩むことはもちろんありましたけども、決して彼女から逃げないようにしようという、それだけは決めてご一緒させていただいてたので、本当になんだろうな、監督として育ててもらったなという気持ちを持ってます今は。
She was very strict, and I know that if I had brought her an offer that wasn't suitable, or offered her a role that wasn't suitable, or if I had directed her in a way that she thought wasn't suitable, then she would have had nothing more to do with me, and she would have been complaining about me for 2 hours to somebody else somewhere. So I worked very hard to live up to her standards, and I decided that I was not going to shy away from that, and she taught me a lot.
I'm glad that you were able to live up to those standards. You talk about still walking almost like, well, you mentioned Maborosi, but maybe still walking is similar, like an old jumper or an old haircut that you don't remember or can't understand why you ever had it. In the years since Still Walking, there have been major changes in your life, one being becoming a father, and I wondered how that affects the way you think about the family dynamic you portrayed in that film differently.
この映画でやっぱり家族とかについての考え方変わっていましたか？
変わったかな。この作品までは多分主人公結構いい年食ってますけど、多分息子目線で家族ってものを捉えてるんですね、きっとね。それはノーバディノーズもそうでしたし、スティルウォーキングも多分そうだと思うんですけど、この後に自分に子供ができて、I Wish と Like Father Like Son で映るんですけど、その2本は父親目線なんですよね。だからそれは自然と何か意識して変えたわけではなくて、自分が子供を持って自然とこう物語を書く視点が父に移っているっていうのが、自分でこう映画を撮り終わった時に発見があって、面白いなと思って、こうやって家族の中での自分の役割が変化していく時に自分の作る映画が変わっていくというのはとても面白い体験だなと思って、これは多分僕があと10年20年映画を撮り続ければまた違う家族の物語が違う語り口で作れるんじゃないかなというふうに考え方が変わりました。
The protagonist in Still Walking is an adult, but I think I was still making it through the eyes of a child, from a son's point of view. And that was the case for Still Walking, that was the case for Nobody Knows as well. But then I had a child myself, and going on to make I Wish and Like Father Like Son, my point of view automatically changed to one of a father. It wasn't intentional, but I automatically found myself looking from that different viewpoint. And it's something that I didn't realize until afterwards. But as my role within the family changes, the films that I'm able to make change as well, and my viewpoint changes. And I think it's a very interesting experience. And as I grow older, in 10 years' time or in 20 years' time, I may be depicting families differently and from yet another point of view.
You mentioned these more recent films that you've made. You mentioned I Wish, Like Father, Like Son. Part of this retrospective here at the BFI will feature those films, as well as Shoplifters, After the Storm, these films that deal with family dynamics. That run of films, I feel that there is some DNA, filmmaking-wise, in Still Walking and Nobody Knows. Maybe a documentary filmmaking style, domestic spaces, family dynamics. Did you notice that, were you aware that this filmmaking style was developing for yourself after making very different films earlier in your career?
最初は違うのを作ったんですけど、後からこの DNA の映画ずっと育ってっていうそのスタイルがずっと育ってることに自分が気づかれましたか？
なんか家族の作家だっていうふうに言われるのが実はそんなに好きではなくて、家族から離れよう、もうファミリードラマはしばらく撮りませんって言ってサードマーダーっていうのを撮ったんですけど、その後 ショップリフターズでまた家族の話に戻っちゃったんで、もう宣言するのやめようと思って、あんまりこう自分が次に何を取るかとかどういう方向へ進むかって決めてできることじゃないので、今もう本当に自然体で、自分の中で浮かんだものを次に取ろうというふうにしか考えないようにしてます。
I didn't really like being referred to as the director of films about families. So I decided I wasn't going to make family drama, and that's when I made The Third Murder. And then I ended up making Shoplifters and coming back to the family again. And so I decided no more declarations. Because it's very hard to decide what I'm going to make next or what direction I'm going to take next. And so I've just decided I'm going to go with the flow, and whatever comes up, whatever feels right is what I'm going to go with.
Can't wait to see what does come next. Your films, especially these films in this season, seem to just be life captured on camera. They evolve so organically on screen. I'd love to know, where does a screenplay start for you, and what does it look like once you reach set? Do you throw it out and then develop it further with actors on set?
作品ごとに結構違うんだよな。
It does vary from film to film.
スティール・ウォーキングに関して言うと、基本的には全部セリフは全部書いてるんですよね。アドリブはないですけど、でもじゃあ全部自分が発想したかというとそんなことはなくて、いくつかのセリフに関して言うと、現場で役者同士が交わしていた会話を聞いて、それをセリフに起こして翌日脚本の改訂稿っていう形で渡したりはしてるんですね。映画始まってすぐおばあちゃんが娘のおでこ触って、あんた綺麗な顔してるんだからもうちょっとおでこ出しなさいよってやめてよってやるところが、あれは楽屋で2人がやってたのが面白くて、そのままそれをセリフにしたりとかですね。嫁さん、夏川由衣さん演じたお嫁さんが、あなたエクボが綺麗ね、可愛いわねっていわゆる姑さんから言われるっていうのは、夏川さんと話してた時にそういうシチュエーションで何を言われたら一番嫌かっていうのを聞いたら、いや肉体的なことを言われるのが一番多分立場だと嫌だと思う。要するに髪が綺麗ねとかエクボが可愛いわねとかっていうのが嫌だっていう話が出たので、本人に内緒でそれをそのままセリフにしたら翌日すごい怒られましたけど、そういうことはやります。そういう形で彼らが喋ってた話を聞いてセリフに起こすというのは、この映画では結構たくさんやってます。
With Still Walking, I did write the script, the whole script. I wrote all the lines. There was no ad-libbing. But that's not to say that everything I wrote was my idea. Because what I did was I would listen in on the actors talking to each other backstage, and sometimes I would write down what they said and write that into the script that night and give it to them the next day. So there's a scene in the film where the grandmother says to her daughter, "You have such a pretty forehead, you should show it off more." And the daughter's like, "Oh." But they did that. The two ladies did that behind the scenes. She said, "Oh, you've got such a pretty forehead," and I really liked that. And I thought I would use it, so I wrote it into the script. And then there's another part where she praises the daughter-in-law's dimples. And I actually asked the actress, what would make you feel really uncomfortable? If someone said it to you and she said, "Oh, something physical," like if she commented on my hair or my dimples. And so I thought, right. And I wrote that down in secret, and the next day it was in the script, and she wasn't pleased with me. I did that a lot for this film.
I'm going to throw to the audience very shortly, but one final quick question from me for now. Many Western critics ask you about your relationship to the director Ozu. I'm not interested in that. So instead, I would like to know, was there a filmmaker or a film or a series of films that when you were young made you want to become a filmmaker?
映画監督になりたいって思わせた、映画でも人でも、シリーズでも何かあったんですか？
あんまり記憶してないんですけど、この間40年ぶりに小学校の同窓会に出たら、僕が小学校の時に将来映画監督になりたいって言ってたっていうのを覚えてる子がいて、僕はすっかり忘れてたんですけど、多分言ったんでしょうね、きっとね。でもしそう言ってるとすると、そう思わせたのは多分母親が映画好きだったので、母親と一緒に、映画館に行くような経済的な余裕はなかったので、家でこう家事の合間に、テレビでやっている本当に間にコマーシャルが入る吹き替えの映画を、それでも母親は喜んで見てたので一緒に見てたんですね。母親は日本の映画ほとんど見ない人だったので洋画が好きでしたから、ビビアン・リーとかジョン・フォンテンとかイングリッド・バーグマンとか、そういうこう綺麗な女優さんが出る映画を一緒に見てる。難しいな、ヒチコックのレベッカとかですね、よく覚えてるのはそういうのを見てました。ただ母親はすごい意地悪なとこがあってですね、結末を先に言うんですよね。それが嫌で僕はなるべく一緒に見ないようにしてたんですけど、すぐわざと意地悪で結末を言うんですよね。この人まだ死んでないんだこの人みたいなことを途中で言うんで、とても嫌だったのは覚えてます。
I don't really remember this, but recently I had a reunion with some of my primary school friends, and I hadn't seen them for 40 years. And one of them remembered me saying at primary school that I wanted to be a director when I grew up. And I don't remember this at all. I'd completely forgotten. But if that was the case, then the films I was watching at the time were with my mother, who really loved films. We weren't in a place economically where we could go to the cinema, so we would watch them together on the television while she was taking breaks from the housework, and we'd watch them with the ads, dubbed films. She loved them. She didn't watch many Japanese films. They would be foreign films, Western films. She loved Vivian Leigh and Ingrid Bergman and Joan Fontaine and all these beautiful actresses. I remember she liked Hitchcock's Rebecca. But she was so annoying because she would tell me what happened at the end. So I didn't really like watching them with her because she would say things like, "Oh, is she not dead yet?" But those were the films that she liked.
ありがとうございます。最初にこんなにたくさん集まっていただいてありがとうございます。お礼を言い忘れました。
Thank you, and also thank you all for coming. I forgot to say that.
今ずっとパリで、新作の、最後の編集をしていて、行き詰まってまして、ちょっと突然なんですけど気分転換にロンドンでも来ようかなと思ってちょっと正直言うと無理を言って行けるんだけど行ってもいいみたいな感じで、急遽決まったスケジュールだったので、そしたらなんかすごい広い会場でこんな広い会場で上映をしていただけるということでお客さんが集まらなかったらどうしようと思ってたらこんなにたくさん来ていただけてちょっとほっとしています。ありがとうございました。まずはお礼でした。
I've been in Paris doing the final editing on my latest film, and I kind of got a bit stuck. And so I thought, well, maybe I could go to London for a change of scene. So I asked the BFI if they would mind if I came, and it was very last minute. And so here we are in this big screen, and and I thought, what if nobody comes? What if it's empty? But it looks pretty full, and so I'm very grateful. I'm very relieved that there are so many people here. So thank you.
何をしてるか。 この映画でいうと多分誰も大事なことは言ってないですよね。多分あんまり大事なこと言わない。セリフはなんかのついでに言うっていう、なんかしながら言う、食べながら言うとか、なんかそういうセリフを言うために人がなんか向き合うとか、そういうの全部避けてて、だいたい人を空間の中で動かしながらセリフはついでに言うし、本当のことは言わないっていう、なんかそのぐらいのルールを決めて台本は書いてたような気がします。
With this film, in answer to your question, no one really says anything important. Everyone speaks their lines while they're doing something else or while they're eating. So when I was writing the script, I had it in mind that I wasn't going to have people sitting and facing each other and having a conversation. They were just going to be talking while they went about their business, moving around in the space.
そうそう、あれ作る時に多分ね、小人の話をいくつか参考に読んだりはしてるんですけど、僕以上に脚本を読んだ時に、主題曲を頼んだ方がちょうどね、イギリスアイルランドをなんか旅した後で、なんかそこから出てきた曲がちょっとそういうアイリッシュの感じがあったんですよね。それで余計そういうふうに見えてるのかもしれない。ただ小人が出てくるおとぎ話って日本にもいくつか残っていて、北海道って北の町にもありますし、長野県にもあって、なんかそういうのを混ぜ合わせながら作った物語でした。見てない方はすいません。
I may have read something Irish when I was doing research for the dwarves, but there are stories like that in Japan as well, from Hokkaido, from Nagano, and I sort of pulled all of those together. More than that, though, it was the person that I asked to write the theme song for this series had just come back from visiting the UK and Ireland, so I think that's possibly may have come across in the music, but I apologise to everyone who hasn't seen the program.
もともとフィクションの映画を撮りたいなと思いながら、なかなかその映画に近づく手立てがなくて、それで申し訳ないけど、とりあえずテレビをやってみようと思ってテレビの仕事をしながら、それでも映画がやりたくて、最初に書いた脚本がNobody Knowsの脚本で、1989年ですから映画になるまでに15年かかってるんですけども、その間にテレビのドキュメンタリーを始めたらですね、これが非常に面白かった。非常に面白くて、それまでやっぱり大学時代も映画しか見てないですし、世の中のことを実際に生活をしている人と接する機会というのは自分の家族以外にはほとんどないような状況だったんで、テレビのドキュメンタリーを通してですけども、非常に限られた部分しか見てないと思いますが、生活している人たちと触れ合うっていう、カメラを挟んで触れ合うという経験がやはり自分が人間について、世界について、社会について学んでいく上ではとてもプラスになったなと思っていて、それを一回経由してフィクションができたというのは、当初は遠回りしちゃったなっていう気持ちの方が強かったんですけれども、今考えるとやっぱりそこを経由したことは無駄ではなかったなというふうに思っていて、今後もチャンスがあればまたドキュメンタリーはテレビをやるかどうか分かりませんが、ドキュメンタリーというジャンルはやってみたいなというふうに思ってます。
I'd always wanted to make a film. I just hadn't had an opportunity, and so I thought, well, I'll just do TV for now. And the first script that I wrote was Nobody Knows in 1989, so it took 15 years for that to actually become a film. But when I started making documentaries, I found it really interesting because before then, as a student, I'd only watched movies, really. And I'd never had much of an opportunity to meet real people and see how they lived other than my family. So documentaries gave me a way to come into contact with real people living real lives through the lens, albeit a limited portion of society, but it taught me a lot about people, about the world, and about society. At the time, I thought I was taking a long way round to get to making fiction, to making films, but now I think it certainly wasn't a waste of time. And if I have the opportunity, I would like to make more documentaries. Whether they be for TV or not, I don't know, but yeah, I'd like to go back.
そうですね、もともとその大学に入った時は小説家になろうと思って大学に入ってすぐ映画だって思って映画にシフトしちゃったんですけど、なもんですからなんか書かないかって誘われるとなんとなく引き受けちゃうんですよね。それでいつも苦労するんですけど、映画があって初めて書けるっていうような感じで今はやってるんで、歩いてももそういう形で苦労して、小説もらしきものを書いてるんですけど、それはそれで意味があって、映画はやっぱり一人で作れないものなのでみんなと一緒に作って、書くっていう行為はそれをもう一度自分の元に引き寄せて自分の中で消化してその作品と別れるために書くっていう感じなんですよね。だから今回の、これもそうですしショップリフターズもそうですけども、映画が終わった後に書くっていう行為を通してあの映画とお別れをして次の作品へ向かうっていうなんかそういう儀式みたいなところもあって、それがうまくいくと早めに次のスタートが切れます。
When I started university, I wanted to be a writer, but then I realized that it was film that I was really interested in, and I switched to film. But I still, if someone asked me to write something, I still feel the urge to write, even though it's a struggle for me. And it's easier for me to write if I've already made the film. And that was the case with Still Walking. I struggled to write the book, but it's a meaningful process because the film, you can't make a film by yourself. You need a team around you, you need help. But through writing the book, you bring everything back inside and digest it. It helps me to digest what I've created and to say goodbye to it in a way. That was the case with Still Walking. It was the case with Shoplifters. Once I'd finished making the film, I went on to write the book, and it was a way of letting go of it, of a kind of a ceremony, if you like, and a way of moving on to the next thing. And the sooner that's done, the sooner I can start on something new.